starts. Okay. Actually, I didn't check if I have everything that I need. I have the image. That's good. We have the project open just. Oh, it isn't much of a project. Okay, maybe I should check the chat. Can't really tell. Looks like it is working. Yep, it is. This is... No, this is not the class I want. Not the module I want. The module I want is DB initialization. The rest is here. Right. So we have a database diagram is here. So we have an idea what we're going for. And we have... I should probably notify I'm actually going live. Right. Yes. I'm not sure how people actually figure out that I'm live. Ah, refreshing water. Right. So I guess the idea will be just to figure out how, well, just to showcase how would you go around creating a script for creating your database, pretty much. There are many ways, like with everything else with programming or IT, like there are so many ways to do this. Can I do while I wait? I can look into these methods. Cool. Like it evaluates an expression or false. Standard truth testing procedure. Sounds very involved. Truth value testing. Considered true unless it close finds either bool method that returns false or lang that returns 0. So if length is 0, then it's false. Empty sequences and collections. Here are most of the built-in objects considered false. Oh, that's cool. I actually could use this. Do I actually need to call bool? Wait. So what does this mean? So these objects are considered false? Empty sequences and collections. Right. Zero of a numeric type. Fraction. What does fraction do? Let's go on a quick detour. Fractions. Looking for a class definition. Class. Yeah, this is the one I was looking. Numerator, denominator. The words I don't know in English. The first version requires that numerator and denominator are instances of rational numbers. So this could be any positive or negative number. Subtype real. be in the lowest terms, but these provides a default or float. So floating point number. So yeah, any a real number. Right, clear this. Yeah. Clear this. I really like this coloring. Previous next modules, I don't really see a way to do this. If I do something like this, will this change it? Did not. Do this? Nope. Welcome back, Risk. Guess I just have to live with this. Turns a new fraction instance numerator denominator. Oh, so it is a fractional part. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So it's a number over something else. So it will be 11/10 if I'm reading this right. Denominator is the number that is being... Oh, that's the one that divides stuff. Better here, okay. Well, if YouTube is better, then YouTube is better. Yes, YouTube cares about their viewers, streamers. I guess YouTube is just a platform that's trying to catch up to Twitch. Oh, I guess they kind of have to provide better service, get themselves established. Right. So since you're here, I guess we'll continue our small exercise into databases. But there isn't much else left. We went around, I explained somewhat in a very shallow way how you would go around by about designing your database. Why it has to be the way it is. Well, at least when it's a relational database. When it's not relational databases, well, it follows different rules. Somewhat. But I haven't really done anything with non-relational databases, so I can't really comment all that much about that. Alright. So where's the design we had? So this is it. I guess we can start with something simple. So we'll create a table for genres, which has an ID and a name with 20 characters space. So let's see if we create a table. So we just do this. Guess we can just define a string. So we have connection, cursor, and the cursor allows us to execute queries, if I'm not mistaken. Doesn't give me any suggestions. Let's see, where's the documentation? SQLite 3. So I connect, I get the cursor, and cursor lets you execute SQL queries, and that's pretty much it. So execute, commit, close. Okay. Execute. Here we have string. How should I do this? Tables. Let's say this will be a list of strings for creating tables. Something like that. And here we'll just loop over for table tables. Just execute a query table. So yeah, this will loop over all of these expressions and execute all of them into the database. Then we do commit, if I remember correctly. Commit, and then we will close it at the very end. Oh, it's very, very simple, very primitive tools. Right. So are you enjoying the free time you have now from studying? This is just one example. This is just to make it somewhat easier to group the queries together. I don't really want to build a framework or anything like that. You can just have... Actually, this was a select statement. Yeah, we don't really want to select. Yeah, we can just use this as a starting point. It's gonna be correct, more or less. Right, so we can start with a table. Where was it? Yeah, word types. Genres. Let's start with genres. Genres. So how does the string should actually look like? We do get it from the documentation. So it says create, then we have an option to create a temporary table, which we don't really need. I can't figure out how to utilize this. Some say prepare for the next semester, some say try doing CS50. I'm confused. I'm still trying to doing CS50. What is CS50? It's an interesting term. Let's see, let's try googling this. Passionate team of engineers from the company OpenAI. Well, artificial intelligence, is this right? Meaning. Oh. Computer science 50s and computer and online related course on computer science through Harvard University and Yale University. Became available on high school students. Okay. Sounds very advanced. Kinda wanna look at it now. CS50 is a free course offered by Harvard to let individuals know fundamentals of programming. Oh, do you know fundamentals of programming? Is there a link to it? What is introduction? Let's skim through it real quick. What I will learn: a broad and robust understanding of computer science and programming. This is a very broad definition. A very high education. Yeah, this high quality doesn't mean useful. But only focus, yeah, exactly. So it's not really all that useful if it only covers very basics. Familiarity in number of languages: C, PHP, JavaScript, plus SQL, CSS, and HTML. Okay. Is an interesting choice. It's not an official website. PLL Harvard EDU. Seems official enough. Yes, 50. 2022. Okay. In that seems a little bit more more official. How to take a course if you verified certificate. If you're interested, Really interested. I just want to look at the course itself. Scratch. So it is a visual course. Text. Also, these are different videos. Subtitles. Music playing, amazing. That's nothing. Alright, this is production. Okay, this is the best text I can use. Not really sure. Don't really want to play video. How long is this? This seems like it should be way longer than it should be. Problem solving. They say about problem solving.
Alright, this is CS50, Harvard University's Introduction to the Intellectual Enterprises of Computer Science and the Art of Programming, back here on campus in beautiful Sanders Theater for the first
I don't think you can actually hear this.
So welcome to the class. My name is David May. Okay.
Well, this is already problem solving, supposedly. Sorry, I feel like I'm a bit too critical.
So
already.
my name is David Malin, and I took this class myself some time ago, but almost didn't. It was sophomore fall, and I was sitting in on the class, and I was a little curious, but
how is this problem
didn't really feel like the field for me. I was definitely a computer person, but computer science felt like something altogether, and I take that computer that I discovered along with all of my classmates to actually create something, and
problem
really is to give it enough time, to take a step back, take a break when you need to, and final project. Now, this isn't to say that I took to it 100% binary.
It's just personal stories.
Like print hello CS50 in this case to the screen.
This doesn't sound like problem solving.
Other languages as they may come in the coming years as well.
He's even
so what ultimately matters in this particular course is not so much where you end up relative to your classmates, but where you end up relative to yourself when you began. And indeed, you'll begin today, and the only experience just some months from, okay, surely the person in front of me to the left.
Does he even say anything about problem solving?
This whole term. So then what is computer science? I claim that it's problem solving, and the upside of that is that problem solving is something we sort of do all the time. But a computer science class, learning to program, I think kind of cleans up your thoughts. It helps you learn how to think more methodically, more carefully, more correctly, more precisely. Because honestly, the computer is not going to do what you want unless you are correct and precise and methodical.
I guess if you don't know what those things
just
are,
learning to think like a computer scientist and
it's
a programmer,
good thing
and
to
it
get
doesn't
introduced.
take all that much to start doing so. This, for instance, is perhaps the simplest picture of computer science, sure, but really problem solving in general. Problems are all about taking input, like the problem you want to solve. You want to get the solution, aka output. And so something interesting's got to be happening in here, when you're trying to get from those inputs to outputs. Now, in the world of computers specifically, we need to decide in advance how we represent these inputs and outputs. We all just need to decide whether it's Macs or PCs or phones or something else, that we're all going to speak some common language, irrespective of our human languages as well. And you may very well know that computer.
What is Oscar time?
Variables. And let me zoom in on this one. And this one is longer because we combined all of these elements. So this is the kind of thing that if you looked at it first glance, like, I have no idea how I would have implemented this from nothing.
This looks like it was made for kids, like under 5.
If you take your vision and componentize it into these smaller bite-sized problems, you can take these baby steps, so to speak, and then solve everything collectively. So what's new here is this bottom one. Forever do the following. If the trash is touching Oscar, the other sprite that we've now added to the program,
so I guess this is
change the score by 1. This is an orange, and indeed, if we poke around, we'll see that orange.
You can't touch this. Can't touch this.
So playing games now. Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, I've seen it. I just don't know. It just looks looks funny. Like, how can you take this seriously? Like, it's hard to imagine taking this seriously when you're just playing with colored blocks.
David, enter.
I would find it kind of. I'm not sure what kind of person would like to be introduced into programming in this way. I guess it could work with kids. That's the only reason. That's the only use case I could see. Like, I understand that this is a useful tool and it has all the right concepts and so on, and it has a lot of work put into it, but it doesn't feel right. I'm not sure. Maybe I will start from the second lecture. Yeah, first lecture doesn't seem all that impressive. Let's take a look at the second one. Okay, let's start with another game. Introduction from scratch to C. Okay, maybe this is more interesting, but C is very
Learned how to
low
but you
level
need to be
language.
with these computer languages today, and really by the end of problem set 1, your first foray presumably into this language called C, you'll have written some code, and you'll be asking yourself, will this program we conjectured last week does what?
Right. So it is a very jarring jump. So you get from colorful blocks that you put them together right into C. Like, I don't understand this progression. Like how people are supposed, like, you so you create a childish looking tool with very colorful with friendly blocks and nice user interface. So to get as many people as possible to get in as many people interested in programming, and then right around the corner you just drop them into like C source code and start writing code in C just to filter off, like as if to filter off those who can't actually handle anything to do with programming. Like, just seems odd. That's it. If I did think to start it, chapter on the top right corner. Oh, chapters. Oh, but yeah, this is the same thing. Yeah, right. So this is a little bit more convenient. Yeah, I guess C is a language, but it's very well used. It's not really friendly for learning. The course seems interesting to me. It's the language that's bothering me.
If you run it on a Mac with this code, you write their code.
Why wear a mask on a stage? Like, you're obviously far enough from anyone else, like for solidarity, but you're speaking like you. Yeah, I wish, like, it would be much better if he was standing like way back at this projector screen, and would have a clearer voice. Like, I don't really want to see his hand gestures as clearly as possible. Like,
program, it lives in this file called hello.c. I need to now convert it, though, to zeros and ones.
You need to convert it now to zeros and ones. I'm sorry, like, this is funny to me. Yep, unjustifiably so, I would say myself, like, but damn, like, come on. Oh, okay, mistake. Stuff toys. Oh, they're stuffed toys, not humans. I think I saw some people in the audience. I think stuffed toys were for... Oh, actually, you're right.
Muscular movements. And so
here,
someone. I have my program. It lives in this file called hello.c. I need to now convert it, though, to zeros and ones.
Oh, that's so bizarre.
How do I go about doing this? Operations like print something on the screen.
So since you can't have an audience, no, I can't do that. Yeah, this is bizarre. Why would you? Okay. For solidarity reasons, I guess.
So fortunately, like last week's...
That's a nice way to show how to take something a little bit too far. Okay. Terminal.
First programs. But I haven't mentioned this bottom part of the screen. This bottom part of the screen.
So I imagine this is Visual Studio Code or something like that. At least it looks like it.
So how do I go about making this bottom keyboard
Like
shortcut here?
like, I don't really
You
like
can
the
forever
presenter.
just type
I don't
ls for list and hit enter, and you will.
The both on the stage mean something. I haven't decoded yet.
We'll see in the a file first programs.
Like, it
Curly
could
braces,
correlate to the
first
progression
programs.
of the
Just all of the files in my cloud account. And there's not many right now. There's only two. One is the file called block that actually returns sometimes do anything like hello world, as in it was kind of usual. I had function. It didn't just arbitrarily
Okay, so every third one or fourth one is lit. Oh, like a random sequence. So like it's a 30% chance that it's gonna be lit or something.
display it on the screen. The cat didn't necessarily say it on the screen. It was stored instead in that special variable
it has two states.
that was called
it has to be ones and zeros.
Answer, because some functions have not side effects but return values. They hand you back an output. I had an undo my head to hit enter there. And on, as we'll see over the coming weeks, it's
extremely curious minds. Huh. Maybe get a better view. Yeah, I'm looking for a better view, but there is this one. Okay, so looks like it starts with a 0 or a 1, depending on which one is which. See, 3, 5, 10, obscured, yeah, by something. So we have 13, 15, 18, 20, 23, 25, 30, 35, 45, 50, 5, 60. So 64. Oh, 64 is 8 bits of 8 8-bit words, pretty much. That's what you can expect from binary. So since it is 64 in length, I'm not sure, like it probably says C50 in binary, because if you encode it into 2-bit words, well, 1 bit is 8, one byte is 8 bits, and one ASCII character usually is encoded in 2-bit. Well, 2 bits are considered a word, which represents one character in ASCII. So if you have 8 bits, 8 bytes, that could translate into 4 letters in ASCII. I'm doing it. I took a screenshot. Yeah, this is an interesting example of. Well, not sure if it's worth it. Okay, let's try doing this. Let's see if it makes sense. So let's take first 16 characters. 3, 3, 9, 12, 15. So right up to here. So what do we get? Probably type it out somewhere. URL. Good as anything. So up to here, I believe. Is first is 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. Seems like a. Okay. Do some conversion search. Binary to ASCII. Binary input. Can do it like. Okay, that doesn't look right. I'm missing one. C0, so why is it 0? Isn't it C50? Oh, it's ask UTF-8. Use part. Doesn't use UTF. Oh, I guess so. 8-bit words. I guess I was talking nonsense when I said that it takes 16 bits. UTF-16. Yeah, so this indicates how long is one word, how many bits are needed. So if this is ASCII only needs 8. Okay. 0. Oh. I guess I leave it to you to finish this. I would imagine it's C50, but there's too many characters for that. Unless they filled it out somehow. CS50. I imagine that's what it should say. Well, actually, if it was 16 bits each, yeah, that should spell CS50. That's actually right. Doesn't make sense. Make a difference. Code ASCII. This is the same. Doesn't like it when it's all in one line, I guess. Yeah. It's alright, 8 bits. Now the question is if this is an O or a 0. Like an O. What is there a word with that starts with CO and has 8 letters? And this is becoming a Wordle puzzle. Okay, well, it's not really all that important. Computer. So computer. Wow. Okay. Oh, okay, I guess that's something. I almost expected him to spell out his word, his name. Yeah, computer. Are you guessing or you actually done the whole thing? Maybe. Okay. Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna do the whole thing. I don't really care enough. I don't see the point. Like, it is a cool exercise, I guess, a cool Easter egg for those who are observant and for those who can't be engaged by his hand gestures.
Correct, at least based on my limited testing. Is this
not
better
test.
designed or worse designed?
You can call it test.
Could become the input to another function, the purple say. The syntax in C is admittedly pretty different, but the idea is essentially the same. Here, though, we have hello, a placeholder, but we have to, in this world of C, tell printf what we want to plug in for that placeholder. It's just different, but that's the way to do it. When we get to
this is like learning by doing, which I'm not sure. It's like a methodology where you actually don't teach a theory. You just start doing things without understanding or teaching the theory. So you start with a code without explaining that this is a function, these are the parameters, and so on. And like it takes 2 parameters, and one of them is a string, that's a type, and so on. So they just do a thing and just say this looks like the blocks we did, and just odd.
Python and other languages later in the term, there's actually easier ways to do this, but this is a very common paradigm, particularly when you want to format your data in some way. All right, let's then take a step back to where we began, which was with that whole program, which had the include, and it had int, main, void, and all of this other cryptic syntax. This Scratch piece last week was kind of like the go-to whenever you want to have a main part.
Okay, well, this is interesting. I don't think it's worth your time doing this, to be honest. Like, it is, well, it's good that they provide courses like that for people who are into this. I don't really see, especially for someone who already studies programming. Okay, let's look at the very last lesson. Let's look at where it leads to. Emojis. Okay, let's not use Flask. Let's do SQL. Like, this is on topic. Let's see how this compares. Introduction, very nice.
This is CS50, and this is week 7.
So this was the
thus far, with a couple of exceptions.
Sounds like
some data. In fact, those of you here in person, if you want to pull up this URL on your phone or laptop, just pure ASCII or Unicode text. And more compellingly, I dare say, is that with a CSV file, it's completely portable. Something's portable in the world of infer. Yeah.
That file data.
Yeah, so you have a kind of a corner case, if you will, because if you're using comma this data, maybe clean it up, maybe do some analytics on it and actually figure out. Yes, because there's a lot of commonality. And if we keep going and going and
okay, so common problems,
the title
duplicates. Okay.
Well, let's go ahead and do this. And then eventually I'll come back and finish my second loop and do things in terms of the order. But for now, let's just keep track of the total count.
What does it do? Opens a file. As a file, read the file. So creates a reader for the file for each row in the reader. It assigns the title, row, strip upper. Not really sure what this does. So strip, I imagine it. Oh, this is Python. Oh. So strip will remove white spaces at the ends, and upper will make it into uppercase. Why does it say title? Really get? I did it. And you found it's a computer, or is it something else? So is it looking for a board? I don't get it. So it counts how many rows? Oh. Takes a row. I guess this is, if it's a string, it's considered a list of letters. So it's looking for a string title. I don't really understand. It spells correct. Wow.
Ow.
Okay. Well, not a computer. It's a bit of a curveball. Correct. I guess at least you know it's correct. So, you know, I approve. That is a funny funny joke. See, like, yeah, if you only have like 68 bits, like, it's hard to come up with something else. Like, the name CS50 would be cool, but that would require you to have less characters. And it might not be, well, I guess if you spelled it out CS50, and to do that you would just trim away 8 lamps at each edge, so it would be easier to see. My my wire of my headset got wrapped up around my microphone. Still leaves out the last bit. What do you mean last bit? Is it 7 characters? It is 7 characters. So it must the last one might be an exclamation mark or something like that. I imagine. Because, well, all those... Wait, wasn't last 8 just zeros? Last byte, yeah. Well, it could be just another special character. Like exclamation mark. Right. I don't think I will keep watching this. Let's get back the music. I wanna investigate this. So, I guess it counts how many titles there are.
Can as a quick check.
Counting titles.
And now blindly this. I could say print out the title, and then maybe let's do something like.
Let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Yeah, this is interesting, but it's a very long-winded. I guess if you don't have any prior knowledge, you have no understanding about programming, I guess this is, well, it would be useful. Gives you a lot of context, but it goes into like things like lambdas and so on, which I'm not sure how useful it is. Not even sure what do they refer.
I'm not doing this, no parentheses. I'm instead passing in get value, the function I wrote, by its name. And this is a feature of Python and certain other languages. Just like variables, you can actually pass whole functions around so that they can be called for you later on by someone else. So what this means is that the sorted function written by Python, they didn't know what you're going to want to sort by today. But if you provide them with a function called getValue or anything else, now they're sorted functions.
Actually, it would be interesting if these lamps spelled something different in each lecture. That could be something that, well, probably they are doing as well. Is learning C even worth in 2022? Well, it actually is. C is not going anywhere. Like, what would you learn instead of C? If you want to write, like, for example, a driver for some hardware. I think it's outdated. Well, I think you're wrong, because it's definitely not outdated. It's still current, and it's still being, like, code is still being written in C. It's just not your everyday. C++ doesn't do the same thing. C++ is a higher level language. So you could do most of the things in C, I guess, but it's not the same. Like if you were to write a driver or something low level to work on bare hardware, then that's when you would use C. So C is a specialized language at this point. It's very well established, it's well developed, and it has its own niche where it does its job very well. So it's not going anywhere. I don't see it being changed. So you can see some of my basics are weak. Yeah, well, this is not part of the basics. I would say it's just peripheral knowledge from learning about. So basically, well, hopefully you understand what I mean by higher level and lower level language. It means a higher level of abstraction and lower level of abstraction. So basically, the higher level language it is, the more abstract it is. So more removed from the actual hardware language it is, from the actual language instructions it is. Oh, glasses arrive tomorrow. Nice. New glasses. Hype. That's always good. Lambda functions, cleaning data. So he has a data set. Let's see. Regular expressions, search, relational databases. So finally he gets to databases. And all I see is waving hands around. Okay, that's that informative. CRUD, create, read, update, delete. Is it true that learning higher value, it's not a higher value, it's a higher level of abstraction, so higher level language. it's more easy and you don't know really how the computer works. Yes, that's what those languages are for. So I'm sure someone did a list. Programming languages by level of abstraction. So this will features high level language. So this is high level language. That's what it means, high level of abstraction. I wonder if it will have some sort of, oh, it doesn't have a list. Computer science abstraction. Okay, abstraction is a cool thing, but level of abstraction anyway. Because, well, high level abstraction just means it's more general. Because at the basic level, when the CPU is receiving instructions or executing instructions, the instructions are very basic, like take this bit and take this word of 8 bits or 16 bits and do an operation with it, like for example moving it to another address or adding these two words together and seeing the result, like adding in a sense in what's its name? I don't think it's called binary logic, it's something else, where you compare the two bits, and if both of them are equal, it equals to 0. If they are different, then it equals to 1. I don't remember what's the official name of this operation, but basically you operate on these sort of instructions. Level of abstraction in programming. Just want a list of languages, because I can't just rattle them off the top of my head, but I want to double check that I'm actually correct. Abstraction hierarchy. Very fancy name. In C, okay, so this is a very long-winded JavaScript, Python, Java, blah blah blah. A high level and low level language. I guess they don't really distinguish between more granular logic gates. Yeah, it's something like that. I don't remember. Or abstraction. Is there an image maybe that could illustrate? I think this kind of looks object-oriented languages, procedural languages, assembler languages. Oh yeah, assembler is probably the lowest level, but assembler is very, very close to hardware. So assembly has the actual instructions that the CPU understands. So each CPU architecture will have its own assembly language, set of assembly language instructions that it understands. Yeah, level abstraction, like this image is somewhat what I was looking for. So C is lower level of abstraction than C++. I guess you can go do things you can do in C, you can do in C++, but that's mostly because C is based on C. Well, C++ is based on C. So they took C and extended it, and it came to be a C++. So Java, C#, JavaScript, PHP, Python, all of these are high level of abstraction, and something called ZLX is even higher level of abstraction. High plus, well, whatever that means. This is another interesting math, logic, physics, machine code, assembly code, C, Ruby on Rails. Okay, that's hardware, machine language, assembly, high level, Python, Java, JavaScript, Scratch. Yeah, so this is where Scratch would be. So Scratch would be even higher level abstraction. What are the steps in case of Python? Python actually, that would be a little bit more. Python doesn't go into assembly code for quite a while. Let's see, Python to assembly. Path, let's see, and can we find this, something like that? Don't really see any good illustrations, but yeah, the path would be a lot more different. Yeah, I guess my query is just not correctly worded. So basically, Python code, the source code you write, actually gets converted into Python bytecode, which is basically a compiled version of your source code, which is run by the Python interpreter. So, and Python interpreter is written in C++, I believe, or C. I don't really know which language was used to create it, and that is the one. Well, so basically the path would look like something like, so Python to Python C, so compiled version of C. Let's say like this. So Python.py. So this is the source code that we write. It gets compiled into byte code of Python. So bytecode is just a general term. What, like Java, it gets compiled into Java bytecode. So it just means it's a version of the language that is which can be read and understood by the platform it's supposed to be run on. It's meant. Well, the idea is you need something like that because you don't want your language, like you so the benefits of doing it like this. Okay, so I want to cover too many things at once. So let's first finalize this path. So Python is run, so this code is not actually run by anything. Like this is just the version of your code. This is run by Python. Let's say interpreter runs this part, which is Python C. Then it gets Python C. Actually, maybe I should do it like this. This will make more sense. Python C, Python interpreter, which is written in C, so it's run by, well, it's already compiled into, what does C compile into? That's a good question. I never thought of it. It's probably a binary. Hey, Vivax, welcome back. I noticed one thing. Someone followed me today off stream. What are you talking about? Well, I'm just trying to answer a question. I'm fumbling to answer a question from Risk. That's what's happening. Basically, he asked what would be the path of Python. What's the path between Python code to assembly language or binary code? Does Python get converted to C before going to assembly? No. No, it doesn't get converted into assembly language. It kind of does, but indirectly, because the instructions written in Python get translated into Python, what's its name? Bytecode, which is run by Python interpreter, which is by itself written in C, either in C or C++, I don't even know. And these languages are then convert, like operate on assembly instructions, I believe. This might be this part I understand quite vaguely. So it goes maybe something like this. And assembly is what executes the instructions, because C++ and C doesn't run directly on your, like, doesn't get executed directly by your CPU. It needs to go to assembly, and assembly probably that gets converted into the bytecode or whatever. I think if it was this way, you translate compile Python P to bytecode, much simpler than be executed by another program written in C. Yes. So, but that's pretty much what's going on. It's compiled to bytecode and it is interpreted by binary. Yes. Yes. So I'm trying to somewhat visually explain what path your code takes between your instructions, well, between your code in Python into the binary, because we were talking about higher and lower level of abstraction languages. But why did I close all of this? Okay, I'm going too far, too deep. Let's see. So yeah, something like this. So, and then it cascades down. Assembly language, machine language, so basically bytecode that gets operated, like gets is interpreted by the hardware itself. If you have ever written a brain interpreter, you can think of Python being translated to brain fuck. Of course, Python bytecode is really much more complex than brainfuck, and then you interpret them running that brainfuck program. Yeah, well, yes, but .py is also just ones and zeros. Well, that is true. But those ones of zeros that are data, zeros and ones. So it's just stores the data. It doesn't translate into instructions that your CPU can understand. Brainfuck is, I have no idea what that is actually. I imagine it's probably something like what was his name, Scratch, but for a different thing. Some esoteric program language created in 1993. Wow. Okay, so maybe it's not simple programming language. It's not made to be used, but more as a joke. Okay. Oh. It is very unlikely that someone would know a joke language from 30 years ago. This one pretty much 30 years ago. Wow. Yeah, it's is it very popular? I've never heard of it. Well, I guess I'm not really into these sort of things. Well, I guess it does have a Wikipedia entry, so it definitely has a following. How did they get it licensed? I have no idea. I don't think they care about that sort of thing. ISO languages. Wait. Yeah, links are kind of frowned upon by the Nightbot, just because of the number of bots we get. It's like the esoteric programming languages wiki. Page. Language list, let's see. Yeah. Seems like there are quite a few. The list. There must be thousands, a couple of thousand at least. Yeah. Let's see, brainfuck. Brainfuck minus minus, brainfuck plus plus, brainfuck plus 3, brainfork. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not really into these sort of things. Never found a use for any of this. Well, I guess I entertain myself in different ways. Like, I prefer gaming to doing obscure stuff with programming, which probably is... probably that's why I'm not as great at programming as I could be. Right. So I guess this would be somewhat the path it takes. It doesn't actually get translated, like this is where your code ends, but then it gets run by an interpreter, which is written in C, and it's written like there are different versions for different platforms. So the benefit of having this is that you can make, for each operating system, you can make its dedicated version. So your Python code is not platform dependent. You write the same code, doesn't matter if it's running on a Mac or on a Linux machine, or on a laptop, on a mobile device, or on anything that has a Java interpreter, not Java, Python interpreter written for it. Anything can run this Python bytecode, and that's the downside of lower level languages like C and C++. They compile into binaries. Let's see, binary. Into binaries that are platform dependent. I use brainfuck as example of a simpler language that is simple to write an interpreter for, meaning you could translate something more complex into something simpler and run it. Yeah, okay, I guess I get the point. Yeah. So yeah, that's what the benefit is of having, like, that's why Python languages like Python are so popular. Like, you could use C++, but development in C++ is hindered by the platform dependency. Like, it is kind of annoying that you need to create binaries, you need to make tests for each platform and so on. It gets a little bit more expensive, a little bit more involved. Right, databases. So what we were doing, genres. I don't remember how we got here. Oh, we looked at this. I was making too much fun of SQLite. Oh, look. Almost said in Lithuanian. Was right. So SQLite is a very easy to pick up example. Favorites DB. Wonder what they are running. So select, update, redundancies, relationships. Yeah, well, we talked all about that. Inserts, Python and SQL, SQLite. Sure why you do the slide. Oh, so it's okay. Some compiled languages are more platform independent, maybe by using libraries that are cross-platform. Maybe. Yeah, that could be the case. You just limit the capabilities of the language. If it's something that's platform dependent, then you just don't include it in your language. That would be one way to work around that. And then you don't have to worry what kind of platform you're running it on. But the fully fledged languages with all the features you might need, yeah, those are platform dependent. Unless they are interpreted languages, which means like they get compiled into bytecode that gets run by interpreter. Showcase, yeah, okay. So this is cool. All. I don't think I'm gonna be any more concise. Right, getting back to the syntax and creating the table. So we don't use temporary table because we don't really need it. Not exists. I guess we can do the check. Table if not exists. Schema name. So we can provide. I wonder if the schema will get created automatically. I'm not sure. But schema name is optional. Kinda like the idea of having schema names. Wait, it doesn't have to create schema, if I remember correctly. Create triggers. Yeah, I don't see schema operations dedicated to creating schemas. So I guess it automatically gets, the schema gets, well, created. I guess it's just a value in the table properties. I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay, let's have a schema defined. What was this database for? I believe it was Spotify or something. To base the, well, the the area was supposed to be Spotify. Okay, so let's do Spotify dot genres table name select statement. Okay, let's not do that because I'm not really sure what we would need this for. I guess if you create it from existing data or something. Select statement. It won't have an explanation, it just shows the syntax. Okay, as select statement. Okay, let's see what it says. Statement creates and populates a database table based on the result of select statement. So yeah, if you already have the data and you're creating a new table based on that data, the table has the same number of columns as the rows returned by select statement. Name of each column as the name of the. Okay, so it's not really important. We're creating a fresh new database, so then we have brackets with column definitions. And column definition is column name, type, and column constraints. And column constraints can be a lot of things. Okay. So this date and the type is text. Type name. Do we have type names? Type names. Signed number. Oh, so type name just has the name. You just need to know the supported types. Does it have a list of supported types? Kinda would be useful. Column and data dynamic typing. Unlike most SQLite does not restrict the type of the data that may be inserted into a column based on the column's declared type. It uses dynamic typing. The declared type of a column is used to determine the affinity of the column only. What does it mean by affinity? Type affinity. Consider this. I create a table. A integer. I have a column A and column B. A is integer and B is varchar, so meaning variable length character string, which will be of length 10. And I insert AB, so I insert string into A, and B I insert an integer. Right. So in order to maximize compatibility between SQLite and other database engines, blah blah blah, SQLite supports concept of type affinity on columns. It's a recommended type for the data stored in the column. The important idea here is that the type is recommended, not required, so it's just a recommendation. Okay, well, in other SQL in other databases, it won't be just a suggestion, it will be like a hard requirement. If you try to insert a wrong type of data in a column of a certain type, database will just refuse to do the operation. It will throw an exception. Okay, it's just that some columns, given the choice, will prefer to use the storage class over another. Preferred storage class for the column is called affinity. Okay. So it doesn't actually force you. So these names. So this is basically a suggestion. What about length? So type name and signed number. What is the meaning of these signed numbers? Plus minus, yeah. Column data type. Primary key, unique, check, constraints. Oh, I guess you can experiment with this if you want. We'll just leave it as text. I guess ID is the first column. ID. We'll just have it as int. Really understand int. Hopefully it does. Oh, types. Numeric integer. Column declared type. So real int num text. Blob, aka none. So if it could store anything of undefined length, then yeah, you just define the type as an empty string, apparently. That's useful sometimes. Right, so this is int. Int is good. Column definition, column limit. Okay. Using the SQL3 limit. Oh, so it's talking about the number of columns. Other constraints, not null. Check unique primary key and foreign key constraints. Tricks, okay. So column constraints, so this will be next. Primary key. Conflict clause. And it could be auto increment, okay. Let's do that. So ID, integer. Which spot are we? Column definition. Column definition type and column constraints. Column constraints. Basically you do a space and then introduce constraints. Constraint. That isn't the same. Wait, I'm not really. Oh, so it goes column definition. And then separately it introduces constraints. Struggling to follow. So you first of all you need to list all the column definitions. Oh, column, okay, column, okay. Table constraints are after, okay. Column constraints are part of the definition. There's no symbols in between. It just says constraint. Let's have constraint. Oh, we can name the constraint PK. So standing for primary key. I wonder if the constraint name, oh, we'll see if the constraint name has to be unique per the whole database. I doubt it. And then primary key. Primary key, so meaning that this is the column that will identify each, I guess, ascending conflict clause. On conflict, well, we shouldn't have any conflicts. Go back, abort. I guess on conflict, if someone tries to insert on conflict, won't fail, so it will not insert a record. Yeah, if you use an insert statement with conflicting IDs, it should fail. I think, well, I assume that's the correct choice. I guess you can't do nothing. You can just ignore it and just eat all the ignore, basically, that it's a primary key. And I want it to be auto incremented, meaning that if I don't provide it, it will automatically gets a higher value than the previous row. So these are like the basic things about databases. Yes, if you want to go into each, I wish this linked to some sort of description. Integer primary key. Except for without row ID tables, all rows within a SQL table have a 60-bit integer key that uniquely identifies the row within its table. This integer is usually called row ID. One of the special case, so I guess the row ID is created automatically. I guess, well, having a separate ID is also a good idea. Even if there's some internal variable that pretty much does the same thing. Just because we can use it in foreign key relationships. Okay, so we declared column constraints. So we defined our first column, do a comma, and the next column, which is name, which is a string. Name, text. How do we define the length? Which doesn't really mean much. Column name, type name, column constraint, which is check default foreign key clause, generated always as, and these are very, you can get quite intricate with all of this. Default. So you can have multiple constraints defined. I wonder if the order matters. Literal value, signed number, expression. Right. Oh yeah, I guess not null also is a constraint. Constraint. Not null. Imagine, well, at least this is how I read it. Yeah, you can't really have multiple constraints defined in one constraint statement, but you can have multiple constraint statements overall. Type name. Oh, so this goes after the type definition. Oh, this is type name. Oh, it's, oh, type name. Part of the type is number. Okay. So if I have text, I have 20. Let's say this is all the columns we have. So in theory, This should be how we create our first table in the database. So let's... I guess we can try executing this and see what happens. Hasn't been run yet. As Python. Unknown database Spotify. So I imagine, yeah, when it executes this, Spotify is not defined. So I guess schema is considered a database. Can we actually create a database? Really wanna... Okay, this opens a new... Let's have it like this. Attach database. Create detached database. Okay, I'm stumped. I'm not sure why it doesn't like the Spotify. Well, I guess it doesn't get created automatically, so oh, it is what it is. Okay, auto increment is only allowed in integer primary key. What it is? I actually have to say integer. Operational error near not. Straight not null. It took a 10 minutes fast walk. Well, that's good. That's what I do for my exercise. I take 10-minute walks of fast pace. I wish you told me that. Right. So our first statement is not running. Syntax error near not. Not null. They do wrong here. I just copy pasted everything. Where is it? Not null. Constraint. Not null. Conflict clause. Have any? Guess on conflict fail that should be the same. Null. Constraint. Oh, doesn't need constraint. Constraint is optional. You can have like this. So that you don't have a separation between different constraints then. Okay, let's see if this runs now. Doesn't have an commit. A typo here. Well, at least the rest of it runs. Oh, it's on cursor. Not cursor, it's connection. Connection commit. And we can do connection close. Right. Okay, so now it runs. Looks good. So we create Spotify database. So we have one table created. So you might ask, or you might wonder, why write this painful strings in your code in a separate file? Why, if you can use something like SQLite? Let's see. Let's change. Not this. How do I actually do this? Modify. Right, so instead using bookmarks, we want to connect to the Spotify database. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Let's try and do that. Yeah, it did. So we should see genres table. Table is created. Now it doesn't have any entries yet, but it has 2 columns. Row count content columns. So it has 2 columns, integer, it's nullable not, primary key, ID, sequence. Well, so basically, well, you could have done all of this here with all the coloring and suggestions and everything of SQL. So yeah, it looks a little bit nicer. It's easier to write. So this could be the place where you actually create this. So instead of writing just a string Python and running it and seeing if it actually passes, you can do this in SQL aware environment, which knows what a SQL statement should look like, understands the keywords and so on, does the coloring, suggestions and so on. But eventually you would have to translate it here anyways, because, well, consider the situation. If so, for doing your own quick and dirty project, it probably is fine, and that's what I did for my Albion bots. So basically, this database, I don't really have a script to recreate this database, which is an issue. So if something happened to this database and I lost all the data, I would have to go in manually and to recreate this database by hand, because I don't really have a script to do that. Also, if I were to introduce a teammate who would be working on the same database, he wouldn't be able to create a test environment for himself that is fresh and clean and new. He would have to clone this existing database locally, and then he will, that's how he would acquire a test database for his local use. So that's why having a script is very useful, because that will be a mess. Yeah, exactly. It is a mess, and that's the mess I'm in at the moment. So do as I say, not as I do. Write a dedicated script for creating, initializing your database. Yeah, so exactly. That's lack of planning. Well, you know, I know all of these things, and initially when I created this database, I never imagined that it's gonna be such a popular thing. Like, I didn't expect to have such longevity from this. But you know you're a mess. Yeah, I know what not to do, but I still, because at the time it seemed like it's not worth spending extra effort, because it is extra effort to create a nice script that executes everything that you need, and especially when you need to do changes, that becomes, well, it introduces a little bit of overhead, because you write your script here, like you create, let's say I need to create a new table now. Let's see, where was my image? And it open. That's how it goes. You never know what booms and becomes popular. Yeah, exactly. Especially when you're just working on like odd projects. So, you know, when you're working for a company and you're creating a solution for a client, then, you know, like there are no, well, there should be no cutting corners, because people actually rely on you doing your, like doing things properly. But here, when you're doing like your free time project, like nobody cares. You can do it like however you like, and like the only person that will be hurt is you, most likely. Well, I guess my users now. I'm responsible for my users now, because I have quite a few of them. So I should spend time, but this database is poorly designed anyways. Like, I didn't do the whole thing where I draw out the database like we did for this example. Like I don't have a schema like that showing which tables connect to which and what data is stored where. I just know by memory. So it's a very ad hoc process. So, but it's not the proper way. It's an easy way. It's not the proper way. The proper way would be something like this, and you have scripts and so on. So let's say we create another table. I guess we can create constraints. I guess we can add constraints later on, just primary keys for now. We can go with awards table. Awards. Yeah, then we can create awards and artists. Those. Then we can create artist awards. Okay, let's. Because we can't really genres we created, but songs we can't create yet because it depends on artist ID, which is also we need this table to be present. Otherwise, the creation of the constraint, foreign key constraint, because so basically foreign key constraint, what it does, basically this table, songs, has an ID of another table. So, and when we insert entries into songs, if you try to insert an entry with artist ID that doesn't exist in artist table, then we have a violation of data integrity. I guess that would be a very official way to say that it's not right. Like it won't work right. So basically, if you because when you want to get the song, you want to get all the details about the song, and that includes the artist and the genre, for example. And you don't store the artist or the genre itself in the songs table. You store just the ID that references the actual values in the respective tables. So if I enter an artist with a non-existing ID, when it comes time to retrieve the song and all its details, like I won't have an artist to show. So that's to avoid situations like that, databases provide tools like, it is the constraints. That's what the constraints are there for, basically to save the developers from themselves, because developers can be lazy and don't check things, be irresponsible with how they validate the data and so on. So they can introduce a lot of issues with data integrity, like the data that doesn't make sense. So to save developers from that, that's why we have all of these. Okay, not this. It's this. So column constraints. That's what this is for. So we can say if we, for example, there should be a foreign key constraint. Don't really see primary key. Check default. I guess we need to create an index. Well, developers are always lazy. That's what makes them developers. Well, yeah, for a big portion that is true. Yeah, foreign key clause. So yeah, this is how it looks like. So foreign key is such a common thing that it even has its own expression. So references. So I declare. Let's see, foreign column conflict clause. No, foreign key clause. Where can I insert foreign key clause? So this could be. So it's one of the constraints. So I would start references foreign table. So I reference another table, and on. Oh, so this is a trigger. So you can also insert foreign table column name. So yeah, this would be. I'm not sure why you can bypass. Don't declare which column you reference. I guess. Okay. Not deferrable. I don't even know what this does. And like, you would need a DBA pretty much to tell you what. So that's what DBA is. DBA knows all of this stuff in all ins and outs of the database. How to achieve, like what's the optimal way to navigate all of this to come to a solution for your problem. Had one yesterday. Well, 2 days ago actually, not yesterday. well, last time I streamed about databases. It was a very short stream though. So yeah, we had that. So basically that's what he does. He would see, oh, this is wrong, you should be doing it in this, you should use maybe this statement, and so on and so forth. Like each database has its own nuances and odd behavior. Something is odd, something is not. Sometimes some things they do better, something they do worse, and so on. Yeah, so that's what DBA does. But just to be able to use them, like this is enough. Like you need to know what foreign key is, pretty much, because that's what the basic way how the data relates to each other. But we don't want to go that deep. Well, yeah, maybe not for this case. Like just for a test database we want to make for our side project, yeah, it's probably not worth. If you find yourself interested in learning more about the constraints, then yeah, you can go into analyzing like how, well, you can start playing around in something like SQL and writing these statements down and seeing what happens to the database, like how each constraint affects what it does and so on. Like in other databases, I don't think you even declare what happens if something goes wrong. Here, where was it? So when we have a constraint, yeah, on conflict, yeah, things like that usually. Well, at least I don't recall using anything like this myself. Like you need like the special things like triggers, like this. This looks like a trigger definition where if a record in one table gets deleted, but it's referenced by something else on another table, so to preserve data integrity, so there wouldn't be missing data that someone is looking for, you can set it up in a way where it deletes all the references as well. It either deletes those records or updates them and changes the reference to something else that won't fail when needed. Like it is a complex thing. Well, but it's a very simple thing that evolved throughout the years into something very complicated. But that's the state we're at, and this is quite simple database. It is SQLite, so it doesn't have the advanced features. So, you know, and that's why it's not even powerful enough for my use case. So I have to use for my bots, I have to use MariaDB, which is like MySQL fork. Which MySQL is one of the like most established, most well-known, most widely used database engines. And well, since it is open source and free and so on, so it has all the good qualities like that. The alternatives would be Oracle database, which is not free, it's not open source. It's provided by Oracle. There's MS SQL provided by Microsoft. That's another giant. DB2 is another thing. It's provided by IBM, which I had quite a bit of experience with. So you know, databases is a whole field by itself. Postgre, yeah, I forgot about that. I never thought that it's so mainstream. By mid, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure. MySQL got forked into MariaDB and MySQL. I'm not sure who maintains MySQL right now and who maintains MariaDB. And I honestly don't really care. MIT, oh, mid. I thought that was odd. Let's see. It's my code here. So another table, what was it? Word types. Word types. Word types. ID, integer, constraint, primary key. Sending on conflict fail, auto increment not null. And it also has a name, which is also 20 characters. Okay, so that's easy. Shouldn't be any issues with this. Right. Comma. Let's do another table create statement. Now we can create awards because it only has a reference. So this will be the first table that has a foreign key relationship. That has an ID of, like it has its own ID, and one of its columns is ID of another table. That's what foreign key relationship means. So, and we will have to add a constraint that each time we enter a row, we check that this type ID is actually in this table. So we won't get like data that doesn't make sense. Table, if not exists, will be awards. Awards has ID. Key is the same, so the next column will be, actually maybe let's make it multi-line. It will be a little bit easier. So we have name. We can do it like this. Kind of aligns each column definition. So type ID. Type ID is the column name. It's also an integer. And let's go take a look and see if we can figure out how to define a foreign key relationship or constraint. So we create table. And foreign key clause. It's part of the constraint, so I declare a constraint. This makes it look like I don't really need to say constraint. I guess if I don't want it to be named, let's just have them named. I just like the idea of having constraints named. Constraint foreign key. Well, just as foreign key types, say, then see where am I at, column name, type defined, column constraint. Don't really have any additional constraints, it just needs to be the same as some entry in the types table. So there are no unique. I guess it's not null would be a thing. It has to be provided. Conflict clause. Yeah, if not provided, then not sure. Yeah, if a word doesn't have a type, that's not right. See, I think it makes sense. Constraint named not null. Let's just say not null. I imagine that will be enough. So it won't be part of the foreign key constraint. This should work if I read it correctly. It should be fine. We'll see. Not null, conflict clause. Ooh, on conflict. I actually want to define what happens. Fail. Basically, I want it to fail. I wonder if, well, the default seems to be nothing. So on conflict fail. So if this constraint is violated, it will fail to insert foreign key types. Now we can actually define foreign key clause, which looks like this. References, then table name is for types. Then column name in brackets, ID. Okay, now we can define trigger if so this, if I understand it correctly, if the type gets removed, this will get triggered. So if the type gets removed from the classifier's table, you can decide to delete all the award entries that are of that type. So that is for preserving data integrity. But for classifiers, I think it's a better idea to just never delete them. Like, don't provide that type of functionality to the end user. Like, if the end user wants to delete a classifier, just better have a flag. For example, add, let's see, where's the image? We could add another Boolean value saying deleted. So if someone wants to delete an award type, so it wouldn't be visible, like you can't choose that award type anymore when you're creating a new award, then you might have a Boolean value that's saying that it's no longer active or deleted or something like that. So when you or if in your user interface, when you usually, if it's a classifier, you usually provide it in a drop-down selection menu of some sort. So drop-down menu. You populate with these values. So if you don't want to include it or have a way to disallow that, better have a flag that says active, deleted, or something like that, and based on that, filter it out. Don't actually delete records from the database, because that will lead to data integrity issues, or you will have to create triggers like that might, so if you delete one award that was very popular, that will cascade and delete all of these records. This will delete all of the records in this table. So it will start to cascade down to whatever is like reliant on this. It also will delete artists as well, because artist has the biggest award integer, which links to this table. So if you, so yeah, this can turn into like a cascading mess if you decide to delete data. In case like if you if you delete like a classifier value. So just don't do that. In general, it's that idea. Match. What does this match? Foreign key. Match. Not really sure what you need match for. Not deferrable, not deferrable. Actually deferred. Okay, I have no idea what any of this is. I think this should be enough. References, foreign table, column name. On delete, no action. I don't do deletes. should say just don't do this. Just don't delete records. There are better ways to work around that. I think this is it. Guess we can try running this and see if it breaks. Oh no, there's another column. I forgot to define. That's award time. Awarded time. So it says that it's date time, but I don't think it actually supports this type of. Well, this type is not supported by the database, I think. Yeah, text, numeric, integer, or real. So I guess it will have to be a text value. Okay, text it is. I guess our plan was a little bit too fancy for SQLite. If we take a look at MariaDB, so I have a column created with time created, and its type is actually datetime, and you have a lot of types. What is a real? It's a real number. Real means a float or a double in programming languages. I guess the difference between numeric and real is questionable. I'm not sure what's the difference between these. Row ID. Yeah, it would be interesting to see what's the difference. Not sure if integers can be signed. Yeah, all of these are just numbers. Okay, well, whatever. And yeah, normal databases have more types. Int, for example, there's a difference between integer and, where was it? I saw a tiny int. Tiny int, yeah. So it just, well, since SQL, no, this is MariaDB, doesn't support Boolean values, decimal, double. No. Double, float, decimal, like these are pretty much the same. Int, medium, small int, tiny int, like, yeah, char, JSON. Yeah, pretty much the imagination is the limit. Like there are types for, but not all types are supported by all databases, so you need to know the specifics of the database engine you're working with. And like looks like SQLite only supports these types, which is usually enough for like small projects. So the last column, awarded time, or time awarded? Awarded time, okay. Awarded time. And well, it should be date time, but it has to be text. That's how it's written. Text. Don't really have a definition. How long can it be? A date, is it only a date? Or do we specify date and time? I think date is enough for denoting when the award was given. Let's say date, so what is 4 characters for year? Some sort of separator. Let's say 2022, 01, 02. It's already here. So a couple of days ago. So that would be what? 10 characters. So let's store 10 characters and 10 character long text. It also has to be not null, as you can't have an award that wasn't given you at some point. Actually, can you have an award when you don't know when it was given? That would be odd, right? In that case, you would just assign some random date, rather than just having an award that doesn't have a date than when it was given. So not null. Any other constraints? Yeah, it doesn't have any other constraints as far as I can tell. Let's try running it. See if it runs. Press it, right? Beep beep, exactly. Let's check the database. Yeah, it created all the things. Nice. So now we can actually try inserting some records and see how the constraint works. Let's see. So award types, awards should be primarily exported keys. Have columns, award type, integer. Ported keys doesn't. Oh. Type ID, column name. Function ID doesn't say foreign key table. primary key column name ID, award type. So primary key table name. Okay, primary key column name. So yeah, it created keys. So that's how it is. I would call it a constraint, but it doesn't seem to list constraints separate. Oh, okay. That's how it chooses to display that. All that is important that it's there. Table. I wish I could see columns like I do on System Global now. Like, it's very convenient. Like, I don't really like this. Can I change the theme? It's very blinding, even to me. It's way too white. Global preferences, look and feel, not a lot. What was a good one? Trust dark star. Okay, this is more reason. Okay, not. I want this to be not white. There was charcoal, I think. That was pretty good. Except you couldn't see stuff. Okay, this looks good, but this doesn't. Why? Why are you being so difficult? Can I make this window somewhat smaller? I can, okay. Saved. So now, when we actually have the table, so I could see recent aliases, drivers. Yeah, I don't use SQL all that often, so I don't really know how to use it. I'm not really apt user. So to insert a record, insert into should give me a bunch of possibilities. So the name of the table was award types. So we need to create an award. What's the the syntax for insert? So we go back to this. Create. So you use create for creating tables, views, and so basically create statements are for creating the structure of the database. But when it's already there, to operate, you use insert, update, delete, and select statements. Oh, so there is an acronym called CRUD. So create, read, update, delete. Which doesn't make sense because for reading you use select. So it's a little bit odd. But it's like an official acronym, like in I don't want to say education circles, but do we need to insert row by row? Can we just copy a data from Excel file? You cannot. You need a tool to actually do that. Usually there is a whole task assigned. So the issue with doing what you say is that Excel spreadsheet or whatever else data format is, it doesn't necessarily adhere to all the constraints we just created, like foreign key constraints, like primary key exported key. So yeah, so constraints like these. So you sometimes you can, for example, if I go to this table, content, it doesn't really allow me to do this. Okay. Link, open, query builder, add or remove, and create where clause, order by clause. So this is some sort of query builder. Well, filter. So there are tools that will let you do that, but I don't really have them. I don't know any of them. I don't really use them. Usually when you need to convert data from one format, where, for example, you have a file or Excel spreadsheet or something, or CSV file more often than not. That's usually the format you get data in. It's a whole task to parse the data. Usually you do it with a script in program. You'd need to use a tool to import data from Excel to SQL database. Grigburn, hello. I guess you're knowledgeable about databases. Well, more knowledgeable than I am, I imagine. So yeah, you usually you have to do it by hand, but as Kriegburn said, there are tools that can do that, and I imagine Squirrel SQL also has a functionality like that. Maybe you can, there's a plugin like this. So, or maybe your IDE has some sort of database integration. So maybe Eclipse has a plugin where you can connect to the database, and maybe that gives you some tools. Like, there are many options, but like if you don't really use them all that often, if you're not a database admin, like usually you're not aware of them. And the rule of thumb, I would say, is you take a CSV and you write a script that reads that CSV, parses that data into something more useful, because usually it has some crap that you don't need, some data is in the wrong format and so on, so you need to do some casting, some jiggling around before you can actually start inserting it. And you write an application which just, like much like this, you create a for loop that goes over that data and creates a bunch of insert statements, much like the one I'm about to make. If I insert, yeah, let's remind myself how to actually write an insert. Insert into, so that's what we're going for. Where was it? SQL. Insert into the table. Schema, which we don't have, table. Column name, so you don't really need anything. And then values. Okay, so column name in brackets. Column names, we have only two. Name. ID is auto-incremented primary key, so we don't really need to provide it. Hopefully, if I set it up correctly, we shouldn't need. So it's say values, another brackets, and what kind of word are we talking about? We need a name. Values, the expression of the value. Absurd clause, what the hell is that? On conflict. Absurd. Reading this right. Okay, this is. I have no idea why it's called absurd. I guess it's some sort of conflict doing an insert. Okay, this is beyond my pay grade. Yeah, maybe someone who's worked with databases a little bit more could explain why it's called absurd and what is absurd clause in general. Okay, so we do this on okay, we don't define absurd clause. Default values. Insert is a combination of insert and update for when you want to do an insert if not exists. Oh, an update if it does exist. Oh, interesting. Absurd clause. Oh, so, oh, maybe that's why it starts with on conflict. Conflict target. You do the actual, well, either nothing or update the values. Oh, that's cool. Okay, that, oh, okay, so we have someone competent at least in chat. That helps. So the value, what's a music award? Grammy? I'm writing, okay, let's. So in theory this should be enough. Okay, it says query rows read, elapsed time, rows insert, one row inserted, yes. So Grammy, so give me another word, we'll make a thing out of this. So yeah, now we see, if you look at the data in the database, we can see that this awards types table now has one entry. So if you want some test data, you can have an optional block in your code, for example, starting data, like define, let's say, define a method for create initial data or populate with test the data, let's say. So, and in this statement, American Music Awards can do that as well. Actually, I will copy that because that's a lot of words. That is a lot of opportunities to make a typo. Oh, actually, I need the quotes. This, so another row inserted. Billboard Awards. Are you just googling these things? They're not even capitalized the same way. Well, I guess it's this is an example. So let's see. So yeah, now we have 3 values, and you see ID gets automatically incremented. That's because we defined it as an auto increment column. So it will be ascending and so on. So you know, you were here, kind of. Okay, that's fine. Right. Yeah, so I guess you understand how the very basics of the database work. And to continue on, pretty much would be the same. So if you want to populate it with test data, well, actually this is needed. Let's do a pass for now, so it doesn't do anything. Actually, yeah, let's keep it inside. Hopefully it will be fine. We'll use the same cursor. That may or may not introduce some issues. The cursor might remember what it executed before, but no, whatever. That's the exactly wrong attitude to have when developing, but you know, stuff happens. People are busy. Have you seen the comment on the last stream I did about databases? Someone on YouTube commented that great stream if you have lots of time to waste. That was the comment. I kind of agree with that. So yeah, so this is like if you have some initial values you want to create. So this is what you would do. And let's see. Well, since the order is different, they will have different IDs. A news related to databases in India. Oh, news related to data. Okay, so takes me a second to read. People are selling individual data for 5 rupees. Said that. Some random commenter, someone on YouTube found my stream recording and decided to, I guess, watch it. And then he made a comment that it's a great video if you have a lot of time to waste. I didn't know what to reply. Data collected at petrol pumps, cash retailers, etc. Yeah, well, whenever payment is involved, that has quite a lot of sensitive data, like your ID, card IDs, might even have your PIN numbers and stuff like that, so it could be quite dangerous. So, you know. Well, hopefully it's nothing too bad. Oh, talking about India, there's an interesting thing. India is making moves with crypto. I would recommend getting used to parameterized prepared statements queries. this python.org. No, it saves. I see the link, don't worry. Yeah, give me a second. It just, I have it set up this way because most of the visitors that post links here, well, I had a big problem with bots before, so that's why I have a Nightbot that doesn't allow links unless it's to whitelisted web pages. Yeah, that's, well, this is next step. Pretty much. So when you do an execute, you don't really want to provide no. So there aren't any parameters we're taking from users. For example, I have another project. Well, it was not made as a YouTube video. I think you need a video editor who trims out the unwanted portions and converts the whole stream into 20 minutes video. If that happens, YouTube will grow. Yeah, well, if I wanted to grow even this, then I would have to do things differently. But yeah, parameterize. So you touch on another point, which is, well, I wasn't going to go into right here, but I think SQL injection is a well-known problem, and you need to be aware of it, how to work around it. So actually, this execute statement, it doesn't take just a string. I can't really show you a doc string, but how I would use it in real life, it takes a parameterized string, as he said. So you define like it's either this or you have just brackets. Usually you would want to follow whatever the library is asking, because the library will make sure that your inputs get sanitized. So for example, if I go to my helper class, which does SQL statements based on user input. So that's why I have execute SQL. I have a prepared SQL statement where I do the insert and I provide a bunch of, well, it's a bunch of columns, and all the values are basically just, well, are not included in the string, but they are passed along to the execute statement, which properly handles all the inputs. So it makes sure that you can't insert like some malicious SQL statement, because basically if you take a user input, you need to be very mindful of that, because user input could be quite dangerous. And well, the most recent and most probably for a while most popular instance of that is Log4j vulnerability, which, well, I dug into how it works, and it basically people can execute scripts through that. They can execute scripts through Log4j. Well, they can execute anything, like so you basically get full control of the environment that's running the exploitable application. So in Minecraft's case, you get access to the server running Minecraft server as the user who is running the Minecraft server. And there are services like some Apache versions, Apache HTTP server, or some proxy servers that require you to run them in as root. So if you manage to break into those and get that access level, so you basically have root access, and it can only escalate from there. So it is a very bad idea. So with databases, how you, well, at least well, I say it will make sure that it's all good, but it doesn't actually save you. It just throws off responsibility for handling your user inputs, because, like, for example, name. If I run this application real quick, as launching new encountered, not running a new, this is old, and it is running, okay. So if I go back to my configuration bot, so yeah, this is the application I'm currently working on. So let's see, I create a new bot, new instance. So yeah, there's a bunch of values that need to be provided by the user. So for example, the name. If I create a name, something like, let's say I know that my SQL statement uses double quotes. Or actually, let's see, so the name would be inserted here, name. So I just provide my name as a quotation mark. Actually, the name will be not here. Name would be inserted here as a third value. So I can, based on this knowledge, I can craft a malicious ending to my SQL statement. So instead of the name, I do, I'm not sure, like double quote, like this. So meaning this SQL statement ends, and this is the start of a new one, and I start doing like something like drop table and then table name and something like that. So this, my application is so great that it actually lets you set the name, something like that. And then when I try to save, well, I guess I need to provide other values. So let's provide some other values that will be needed. Let's see. Actually, I need to select 5, I think. This is a webhook, provide a webhook. All set, we press save, and this executes that statement. And it actually saved, and the name actually got stored to the database. So if it wasn't properly handled, it could have just broken the database. It failed to do the insert. Well, I guess if it failed to do the insert, it wouldn't actually drop any tables. But since I pass all the variables given by the user to the library that is supposed to handle all those inputs, I like transfer the responsibility of handling those values, sanitizing them, making sure that all of the special characters are escaped and so on to the library. And everything gets inserted correctly, and I actually have this weird name now set as my configuration name. So if I go to list my configurations, it will show that I have a new Killbot instance with a name, so and so. Drop table name. And actually I can delete that, I don't need it. 5. Damn, it's so cool, it has so much functionality now. It's really nice. I'm really I'm really glad that project is coming to an end. It's been like, what, a month? I think I spent a whole month working on it to get to this state. And I'm almost done, so maybe in a week's time it will be done and deployed, and I can start working on something else. But yeah, getting back to the databases. So this, I'm not bothering with providing proper values, named properties, whatever that was. I need to remember, need to remind myself. Getting used to parameterized strings. Because this won't be run by a user. This is meant to be run once when you create like as a script for initializing your fresh new instance of a database. So for example, you get a new developer to work on the team, and he wants to set up his own development environment, and that includes setting up a database on which to operate. And that's why you would that's why you would make it as a separate script for creating a database, creating its tables, if it needs, inserting some test data, so the database would actually, well, the system that relies on the database would actually run, and so on. And yeah, so that's why it is how it is, and I'm fully aware that. And it is a big issue that if you don't take care of your queries properly. Right. I think that's pretty much it. I guess I can showcase. Let's see, what was the other one? Grammy. And the other one was American Award something. and music awards. Or types. Oh yeah, I didn't showcase the constraint violations and so on. Let's do that. So this table will create 1, 2, 3 tables: genres, award types, and awards. And awards will have a foreign key reference. Yeah, well, a constraint foreign key type constraint, which is a reference to awards table ID, which is foreign key relationship. Well, that's how it ends up looking like in SQLite. Right. That means when we have some records, so the same way we inserted records into award types, we can do the same thing for awards. Right. I am thinking of creating a project where I use all the things I learned till today: Python, Django, CSS, HTML, JavaScript, and SQL. Well, you know, this is, you will have to use all of these things in any case. Like it's not a thing to know 1 or 2 things and keep working on that. Even something specialized as database admin, you won't get along. Well, I don't believe you can get by with just knowing, like, let's say if you're Oracle DBA, just knowing Oracle SQL, and that's it. You will need to know Linux. You will need to know shell commands. You will need to know administration, some stuff like so. Like you always need a bunch of things, or at least be aware of them, so you would know what to look for when you need to find specific things related to that. Right. So let's try to insert another record into, this time, into awards table. So not award types, awards, and we have 3 columns there. ID is automatically generated. Type ID. Right. So how this happens? This is the wrong. Okay. And I already forgot what's the name. Award type. Award. Type ID. Damn it. I was completely off. Type ID. Type ID, and then awarded time. It's an odd wording, but okay. Awarded time. Oh, so it even grays them out when I actually type it correctly. Okay, that's good to know. And let's say we provide, so now we need to provide values. Let's say we provide 0 as an ID. So this doesn't exist, so this should fail. And the word time, let's say 2022. I think it's just a 10-character string, 10 character long, so 2022, 02, oh wait. Error. Missing database, no such table. Oh, awards. Okay, that's a different failure. And 1 row inserted, that's not good. Something didn't work. Why did it work? Yeah, it inserted type ID 0. Imported keys. Foreign key table name. Update, delete. Yeah, something I messed something up with the foreign key relationship. Foreign key table name awards, foreign key column name. And primary key table award types, primary key column name ID. I'm not sure why this didn't trigger. Reference, foreign key reference, award types ID. I guess I need to specify that it needs to fail on conflict or something. Take a look at the syntax. What's here? What did I miss? Well, this is insert. I need to create. Let's see, foreign key. I think it had an integer primary key. Primary key generated collate. Okay, did it say anything specific about foreign keys? Okay. Foreign key clause, foreign table, column name. On update, on delete. Okay, match. Doesn't actually say anything. So foreign clause is this. Foreign key clause. How did I mess this up? Match name. I wonder maybe this is necessary. Okay, let's try adding this. Match. Seems a little bit odd. Is there a zero value? Maybe there's a... Okay, I have no idea. Let's try doing another insert with a value that we know doesn't exist. And it's still inserted. Yeah, that's not good. Content, yeah, it inserted primary key. Yeah, I have no idea what went wrong here. Decimal. Not nullable is correct. Ported keys. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Update route. Foreign key name. This is missing. I feel like this should be filled. Deferrability 5. Yeah, I did something wrong. Let's see, SQLite foreign key. Constraint. Let's try googling. Did I do wrong? SQLite. Foreign key. Constraint failed. That seems like what happened to me. Create table, foreign key ID, references AID. See if there's any reasonable. Table has row whose foreign key references the primary key value of the table A row, so you're trying to delete, so deleting it would... Okay, deleting... This means that column ID 2 on table 2 references column ID in table A. Yeah, it uses a little bit different definition. Foreign key. Let's see if this makes sense. Foreign key clause. Foreign key clause is this. So where does he get foreign key? Table constraint. Oh, there actually is a foreign key. So it's part of the table constraints. It's not defined as a field. Not defined next to the column, I mean. So it should be declared as table constraint. Okay, column, table constraints after column definitions. So just a comma. Okay, alright, let's do that. Let's fix this. Let's make it right. Because foreign key constraints matter. So to do this, after we iterate create all, let's okay, after we define the function, we can call it populate. So this will actually get executed and all values get inserted. This now has to be fixed. And now after we define the last column, we define a table constraint, which is foreign. Okay, let's copy paste just to be safe. Foreign key, which is column name. Oh, and then I use foreign key clause. So I could use it here as well. So if I use it here, it doesn't actually create a actual, okay. So column name is type ID. And then foreign key clause, which looks like references foreign key table. So fails constraint references word types ID. So I guess I can move it out if it doesn't really do what it's supposed to be here. So I can remove this constraint on null conflict on conflict fail. Does it have anything else? I think it has table constraint foreign key clause, and that's it. It doesn't say that constraint name, doesn't have anything on fail like that, on conflict fail or anything like that. Okay. So our database is currently messed up. To quickly fix that, we go into, well, it should be here. It is here, so we just do a quick delete, yes, so it's gone. So now when we run this again, it creates a new fresh instance error. Well, that doesn't really help me. So yeah, when it executes, there is an currently. Oh, did I? Yeah, I think I did this wrong. Oh, I could check this, but okay, looks like it executed this time. Okay, Spotify database was created. Let's reconnect. Okay, are you sure you want to close test? Yes. Save them now. Don't save. No. It's no. Okay. Oh, I guess I could have saved the actual query to insert records. Okay, let's see at the tables now. Okay, and content. Word types. Okay, word types got created as expected. Let's look at the constraints: indexes, imported keys, exported keys. So word types has an exported key and words has an imported key. Foreign key table. Any foreign American. Okay, then I guess these. Okay, let's see if this constraint actually does what it's supposed to be. Insert to words, columns, type ID, and that for the time values say 0, and let's go with today's date, 2022. And it's so 8. And it's still inserted. Okay, I give up. It doesn't make sense. Type ID. It doesn't actually create the constraint. Don't like it. Maybe that's why I didn't write the script. I just did it manually. Can't really... Actually, what will happen if I add this fresh item, add to graph, and this to graph? Okay. Let's see how the graph looks. It actually shows that these tables are related. Shows the relation and this primary key in this foreign key. It just doesn't validate the constraint. I'm not sure, this seems like an oddity with SQLite maybe? Seems like I created it correctly. It doesn't, it just ignores that there's a foreign key that's supposed to match entry here. Still missing something. I guess it's something sure, for further research. Auto increment, so not null, primary key, auto increment. So he doesn't actually try. Maybe this constraint doesn't get checked or something on SQLite. Because well, from my experience with other databases, it doesn't take anything extra. So as soon as you declare that there is a foreign key constraint, so like this, that this column references another column in another table, as soon as this is done, it will fail anything that tries to insert the data that doesn't make sense. So I'm not sure why it's doing this here. Doesn't really. Maybe that's, yeah, I have no idea. Oh, by the way, is the tomorrow stream about that project you're making related to asking questions? Oh, not sure. Maybe we could do that. Actually, what I want is, I forgot the guy that got scammed on Fiverr. I wish that guy came back. Maybe we could help him. We could do like a documentation, like help him figure out what he needs. Because I think it's a good opportunity. I just didn't realize at the time to showcase how you actually start with, because he's a rare he's a rare case of a person who knows what he wants but doesn't know how to express it properly, so people who are actual developers could understand what he wants. So, and there is a technique. There is an actual technique. Clark, yes, Clarky, yes, that's what I'm talking about. So we could actually apply a technique that lets us formalize and extract formal requirements, like formal definition of what he wants. I have his Instagram ID if you want. I could tell him to come tomorrow. Well, sure, if he wants to participate in this experiment, you can ask if he is willing, if he's interested in this sort of stuff. We could try and creating a design document of sorts, showcasing what he actually wants. So it would look like there's something called like user stories. It's part of defining requirements. So basically, user stories is what Clark would provide. So how he imagines using the software. So what he does, how it looks, what he presses, what the input is, what the output is, and so on. So with as much detail as he can provide. Because I'm not really sure what he wants. So when he has user stories, we can try offering different solutions. So maybe he doesn't realize that maybe some of his requirements are too high or unreasonably high, and maybe if he lowered some of his expectations that might be not as crucial, maybe he could have like a much simpler solution, much simpler piece of software as a result that satisfies his needs. Message him. Okay, great. So let's see if he shows up. If he shows up, we could do that sort of thing. Otherwise, we can. I need to think about, because like the user stories, like the key thing is to have a user that knows what he wants, and I'm not really sure what I want yet. So this is a little bit more complicated. I need to think through a little bit more. Yeah, because maybe you could design something else, something more simple, because that's like from technical point of view, it shouldn't be a very complicated project. It shouldn't involve like very well, lots of complicated technologies per se. But from the business logic point, it is quite complicated. It has like a lot of moving parts that need to connect correctly to make everything work smoothly. So planning is key there, and yeah, I already have a project or two that I didn't plan correctly, so that's how I get this spaghetti that I can. I'm eating for a month now, and slowly excreting a new version that is somewhat better, but still there are things that I would like to improve on. Like, yeah, it's still not ideal. Still not what would you consider it's a good name. There's a word. Exemplary? No. Not a good piece of software anyways. That is so well described. Well, I try my best. That's all I can say. It is a slow and painful process, and yeah, the result is not guaranteed. But considering what I started with, yeah, it definitely was quite a transformation. And you can actually tell from the user interface point, it looks a lot smoother, more consistent. Like if you take a look at the old version, like it is functional. You can definitely what's the right word? Recognize that it's these bots, these pieces of software are somewhat related, but this is purely functional, and yeah, it does, well, it does the same thing. That's the goal, but it does it in a different way, slightly. Having buttons was a huge difference I observed. Yeah, it added a lot of color, so that's one huge benefit of having buttons. Also, it's a lot more friendly for mobile users, because, well, you have quite, well, pretty much anyone who uses Discord has Discord on mobile, and especially while you're gaming, you don't really, well, maybe you don't want to, like, it might be much more convenient to just press buttons on your phone. But I guess inserting things like setting up a bot still be a pain because you need to provide a lots of values and like copy paste links. And actually you weren't able to create webhooks on mobile clients. Yeah, that was an issue at some point. People came to me asking like I can't create webhooks. Like it's not possible. Like I can't. I have all the privileges. I am the admin of the server, and I can't do that. And it turned out that Discord restricts that type of functionality on mobile clients. So if you're using Discord on mobile, if you go to the server settings, let's see, my server settings, and I think it's integration. Yeah. So this is not present. So on mobile you can't get to this menu and you can't create new webhooks. So let's see. Yeah, new webhook, so on. So it creates a new webhook and so on. Spicy bot. Yeah, oh. Yeah, you can't do that. And yeah, that's how we we figured that out. So it's still gonna be a task, a chore to do this on mobile, but it will be more convenient because you don't have to open your keypad, sure about that pop-up keyboard thing, enter a number. Actually, this will crash my application. Damn it. It's not running at all. Like it's running, okay. But yeah, you don't have to actually enter a number in each menu. And for example, if you want to do something simple like delete or even extend is quite simple. So you do extend all, then you provide your email and you select, yeah, you need to provide your email and how many weeks you want to extend it for, and then it generates everything else. Oh, that's the idea. So yeah, it is a huge difference. The biggest difference is the actual application. It's no longer one spaghetti file with no classes and just a mess, unmaintainable mess. That's not an exaggeration. So that's it for today. Yeah, I believe it is. I don't see the point in continuing with this because it will be just going through the same things. Like the designing the whole thing, like it's not even a whole thing, like a bigger portion showing how everything relates to each other, where these relationships come from, and what do they mean? Why do we have like weird tables like this, which just has an ID, artist ID, and a word ID? So what's the purpose of these tables? When do you need them? So we showcase that. And actually implementing them is like any other table. So yeah, I understand how it works, I just need something where I can implement it. Well, SQLite is really convenient for that case because you don't really need anything. As it says, if you use Python, just import SQLite 3. That's it. This is how you create your database, and you can start making tables, inserting entries. If you want to select if you want to get the data out, you do select statements. So like this one, like I have a SQL statement that is worded like this. So select whatever column I want to select from whatever table I want to select. Then another parameters, like if I want it to be ordered, if I want to limit how many records I get at once, and so on. And that's how you get the records out of the database. Also, there is another thing. Since this is actually a file, you can actually open that file as a text. I think you would be able to see stuff inside, if I'm not mistaken. I might be very mistaken, but let's see. Open with... Okay, I'm kind of mistaken. You kind of can see something, can see constraints, words, word types. Yeah, maybe you can't really tell what's going on inside. I guess you need to actually create queries to extract the data. You can only see some sort of definitions here. Awards, yeah, I have no idea what this means. I don't see any data though. So maybe if you open, but SQLite, Squirrel SQL, it's a freely available piece of software. You can download it and use it. I think you don't really need anything else. If you want to connect and see the database like I am, you just create a new connection, like this, and JDBC. Well, you take SQLite driver, and then yeah, it gives you the template. So path to the SQL file. So that's all you need. And this is how I connect. And oh, actually, can I edit it? Modify. So yeah, this is how it looks. So the start is the same, and this is just the path to a file, and it connects, and you can manipulate the database and see the inserts, insert your own records, and so on. So it's quite trivial to start with. It's very easy. With more complicated databases, you actually need to download the database engine, install it, start running it, configure access to it, and then you can connect to it. Either using your application, like for example, this is not connecting. Well, I'm not using SQLite on my actual database. I'm using MariaDB, and MariaDB like needs database host, database user, database password, database name, character set, retry intervals, and database port. So all of these values come from this do not show on stream file configuration, or maybe, well, since this is this project, it comes from config, so this don't show on stream file. So it doesn't matter. So it comes from the configuration, and it's a bunch of things you need to connect. So let's see where they are used. They're used here to connect my MySQL connect. So I'm using not SQLite, I'm using PyMySQL library to connect my SQL. So since MariaDB is a fork of MySQL, it even uses the same library to operate. So it supports the same, it pretty much works the same way, apparently. So yeah, it is a little bit more involved, and for this to work you need to do some other stuff beforehand, but you can read about that usually in their documentation. There's a quick start guide, or start here, or beginner tutorial, or something like that. You go through those steps, and they guide you through how to set up users, how to set up a what's its name, schema or database. Like I would call this schema, but yeah, this is called database. Yeah, test. Yeah, this is a schema, isn't it? I guess the tables don't really have schemas assigned. Let's see. Schema name, yeah, it doesn't have any schema assigned. Well, whatever. Don't show on stream, that's a great way to name it. Yeah, well, it kind of... well, that was part of my sanitization. So before I started streaming, that's what I did. I actually moved everything from the code, because I had lots of things, lots of IPs, keys, client secrets, and so on, just laying around in the code. So I just moved it into one file that gets loaded by my singleton that reads all the configurations, gets stored. I guess in the database case, where do I actually update? Login, translations, update config. So yes, self helper. So yeah, it goes to helper and assigns all the values based on where's the file? Could say do not read on stream at some point. I guess when I initialize it, yeah. So initializing, yeah. So when I start initialize my config, it reads everything from the do not show on stream file. Understand stream new config. Well, whatever. Yeah, so this was my part of my preparation for streaming. So I wouldn't have to worry, oh, did I show something I shouldn't? Well, if I did it correctly, I don't have to worry about it. If I missed something, then, you know, we'll see. Hopefully I didn't. Actually, Twitch is claiming that I have 5 viewers, which is odd. Actually, now it shows 4 viewers. Well, If that's true, that's quite impressive for the type of content I do. I wouldn't. Oh, actually, talking about streaming, that reminds me of the competition. I watched their video today. They released. Well, they filmed it on Friday. Maybe there isn't anything new. 3 hours ago, there is a new. What does it say? You guys. Oh, so Krista. Krista is the one who's running. Remember, finalists. So there's a. Oh, this is exciting. Moose Air, Sausage, Eagle, Texas Sprouts 87. Underground Garden. So I didn't even get to. Wow. Hunt for Red October, even though it was built. Oh, I am sad now. Honorable mentions. I didn't even get to honorable mentions? That's odd. I'm not even. Not that I'm not in the finals, I'm not even on honorable mentions. That is odd. Yeah, I guess I'll be making a long complaint post today, asking what's up. How did I? Maybe they didn't see it because it's it's a different thread. I'm not sure. Just messagement, yeah. Yeah, I'm confused. That was a lot of work. I expected at least to be. Hunt for Red October. Hunt for Red October was done outside the competition time. So, not sure why it's there. Boiler Snake Mountain. Sure, I saw this. Maybe I just didn't meet the requirements in some way. Oh yeah, I saw that. Called it Boiler Snake Mountain. Yeah. Can you show any of the finals? Yeah, I can. So Moose Air. Well, Red October. Well, I did the tour in one of the streams. The Red October. I actually visited when I was done. And it was still being built, so it has a torpedo shooting and so on. Tells Sausage, Boiler Snake, so this is the base we found flying around. Well, this is a cool build. Like the scale is, well, from far it looks really good, like the snake, but from close up it's, I guess it's okay. Let's see. Angle. Yeah, this is a cool build I didn't find when I was doing the tour, so I actually checked it out later on in the next stream. This is taking a while to load. I thought they made. No, the competition was over by the end of December, so they didn't have time. They shouldn't have made anything else. Even Red October was kind of late. Well, because it was still being built after New Year. A huge port town, so yeah, this is it's kind of nice, I guess. I hated the submarine one. I kind of liked it. I liked the movie. Screenshots, okay. Oh, I've seen this. It's a very small area. Oh, it had an underwater temple thing. Yeah, I saw that. Okay. Underwater garden. And this is gonna be well, a bunch of close-ups of, well, the structure itself was quite impressive. This is lagging quite a bit. Look at this, yeah. Well, the common theme is that all of them posted their things on the official post, but the instructions explicitly said that you can post it in a separate thread. Sure, maybe I didn't follow the rules. Submit your build. You can submit your build by posting your coordinate split screenshot and adding a sign-in game with your forum username. Sure to include the tag Minecraft as well, especially if you decide to make a separate forum post. So yeah, that's what I did. And on mine, we will use this thread and tag to find builds, final judgment process. So make sure you post. So yeah, so if I use this tag, my is part of Mordor, the build competition. And this is the last message. Yeah, so this is my build. Yeah, I didn't even go into the details. Well, I did include the tag. Yes, this is how I found it. So if you filter all the posts with the tag, that's why my post comes up, because it has gaming and Minecraft 2021, which is the tag you were supposed to use. So maybe they just forgot to check it or something. Or maybe they just didn't like it. I'm not sure. Well, that is sad news. Well, that's one way to end the stream, I guess. Let's see. They decide work by all. Oh no, it's February 7th, February 8th. But it says February, what? Was it posted 19 hours ago? That's so great. Ah. Maybe I am? Okay, Rocky Daddy, Skippy's devious lick. So they found the devious lick and KFC, but maybe I didn't. So I had to provide my forum name on a thing. Actually, I opened it up for access. Where's my Minecraft client now? This, no, I think this is it. 17.1. Let's see. Let's do a quick check if the server is online. I want to see if my sign survived. Maybe the sign is gone. Pretty sure this is the version I should be playing on. Actually remember. Hopefully you can see it right on stream. It crashed. Okay, let's go. Level 1. Okay, looks like it is connecting. So this. Let's see. Okay. It's loading in. Struggling a little bit. Ooh, the lag. Oh. I think 6,100. Okay, that's impressive amount. Okay, now it seems to be good. There's even someone online. So I left a sign here, because that's kind of the start of the experience or adventure. Order. Forum name every time. So I did leave a sign, and it has the coordinates if you want to follow the actual journey through the Mordor into the volcano. So the other thing I might have messed up is leaving the coordinates. What are the coordinates here? Let's see. Looking at somewhere on the right. Target block. 21 minus 2132, 82 minus 2138. Okay. Let's go back to my post. I believe I did. Let's see, maybe I forgot about that. Oh, it actually has the coordinates. 2133, 2136. Here it is, 2132, 2138. Well, it should be able, they should be able to find it. It's 2 blocks off. I doubted that maybe they are just that anal. So it wasn't exactly at those coordinates. Disqualified. I don't know. Maybe because I linked my Twitch, maybe they thought it was unfair or something. At least, well, give me an honorable mention, saying that, yeah, okay, that was cute, but if the streamer, if someone's streaming how they build a Minecraft build for like 5 hours a day, and it's kind of unfair for other players, I could understand that, but just not even mentioning me, kind of, okay. Well, in any case, I think we are all rightfully upset. I'll make sure to make a very long post about this, explaining my situation. Yeah, I think they just missed it somehow. So I guess since they didn't decide on the winners, maybe I still have time, at least to get into the finalists. Maybe get some honorable mention. I'm not sure. Well, okay, in any case. That ending, yeah, hopefully... Well, unfortunately, yeah, it is what it is. Sometimes it just... stuff happens. Well... Yeah, I don't really have anything else. Maybe we could try Log4j vulnerability in the worst case. Let's resort to terrorism. Okay, that was a joke. I don't mean that. Disconnect, cancel, quit. No. Right. Yeah, okay, bye. I'll be back tomorrow morning continuing work with my test config bot. So saving works now, what else? Editing needs to be done, and testing. Testing is the new functionality that needs to be added completely. It wasn't present on the old bot and people really want that. Yeah, don't worry, don't be sad. I chose to waste my time in Minecraft. I guess the I get what was coming to me, so you know. Did I delete this? Oh no, it's not working. Oh no, I actually deleted. Okay. Right. Hopefully this was educational, entertaining, or some combination of that. And see you tomorrow.